Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, McNallie Money, home of all things stock, investment, and personal finance related. Today we're going to be taking a look at a company called Upwork, which is really capitalizing on the work from home pandemic situation. Now this is a company that I currently hold. I'm up about 300% on the position, so I'm doing very well. And they have upcoming earnings in the next couple weeks. So I'm excited to talk about this, give you guys a full analysis on the company, my personal price target in terms of market cap, and some bullish opportunities I think they have in front of them. But before we get into it, please take a second to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, feel free to leave a comment in the section below if there's any specific companies you want to hear me talk about in the future. My channel is about to hit 100 subscribers, so we're going for 150. And in terms of likes, I'm trying to get this video over the 50 mark. So please help me out. And without further ado, let's jump into Upwork. Okay guys, so as promised, today we're going to be talking about Upwork Inc. Had a pretty big pullback here, down 6% today, so just under $53. But I think this is honestly a short-term thing and I'm not too concerned with it. This is a company that I actually currently hold. As mentioned in the intro, I'm up about 300%, and I'll actually show you that position towards the end of the video. In terms of video structure here, we're going to be going into what the company actually does, how they generate money in terms of their business model. We'll go through my bullish thesis on the company and some of the macro factors that I think are really benefiting this industry as a whole and Upwork specifically. And then we'll go into my actual price prediction on the company and share my current trade strategy and holdings with you as well. Now, if we pull up a 1 month on this, you can see that they've had a pretty good run. They were actually trading just below $40 in late January. And if we pull out to a 1 year, you can see that just after the initial pandemic scare, so early March, they were actually under $10. So I was able to get into this name just under 15. I think my average is maybe 14.85. So I'm up nearly 4 times where my initial investment was, or close to that prior to today's pullback. I think there's still a lot of room to run on this one, so I'm not interested in selling at any point in the near future. Now, the other thing I wanted to call out here is the market cap. So this one's actually under 6.5 billion, which I think is an absolute steal considering the total addressable market and the business model that this company has created. And if we scroll down a little further and look actually at their earnings, you can see here they had a big beat in Q3, and they're showing some really healthy growth both on an annual basis over the last 4 years and a quarterly basis here over the last 4 quarters. Now, the reason I wanted to get this video out this week is they actually have fourth quarter and year-end earnings coming out on February 23rd. So next week, they're going to be sharing their full 2020 results, and I expect this to be an absolute blockbuster quarter for them. So I wanted to get this analysis out in advance. So if you guys do like what you see and like what you hear, you can get into a position prior to earnings because I do expect them to gap up after earnings. So in terms of what Upwork actually does, they're really revolutionizing the way businesses find, hire, and pay their employees, freelancers, for short-term and long-term projects. So similar to software, shopping, and content industries prior to the job market, these have all now gone online and become digital, and Upwork really believes that this is the way the job market is moving in the future as well. So they've come up with proprietary software and a big repository of data that they actually harness on their platform to match freelancer skill sets with company job opportunities or projects. Once a freelancer is matched with a job, the platform offers collaboration and communication features, time tracking, invoicing, two-way feedback, and review systems to better manage the life cycle of project engagement and allow companies to track these freelancers' activity and really set them up for future opportunities down the road. Now, before we get into the company specifics, I did want to take a second and just look at the CEO here. So Hayden Brown was actually named top 40 under 40, and she was a recipient of a degree at Princeton University. So very well educated. She actually worked at Microsoft prior to joining Upwork, and she's been with the company since 2011. So she's been there about 9 years, and considering this is a relatively new company, it's really good to see that she's been around and understands the business model at such a deep level and has now been able to move up into this type of position. If we then take a look at the broader management team, you can see Hayden Brown has actually been here the longest of anyone with a 9-year tenure, but we do have people that are up in the 5-7 year kind of range. And if you look at the companies that these people were with prior to joining Upwork, again, you can see the roster is very deep. Everything from Microsoft to eBay, Merrill Lynch, and even Yahoo and Facebook. So this is great to see at an innovative company like this that's really trying to revolutionize the way people interact in the job market. It's awesome to see that the people guiding the ship really have this type of thinking at their core. Now we're going to do a deep dive into how Upwork operates, how they generate revenue, some of their key financial metrics, and why I'm so bullish on this company. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to really simplify it and break it down in a nutshell here. So essentially what happens is people will go in, freelancers, and they'll create a profile on Upwork. So in this example, John Peterson's a web developer. He'll go in, he'll put in his skill set. So he'll say what programs or software he's familiar with, maybe some key projects that he's worked on in the past. He'll then specify an hourly rate that he is looking for. So in this case, $60 an hour. And give some information about his demographics. So where he works, his job success rate. You can see here some of the scripting or coding that he's familiar with. So Java, C++, JavaScript. And then he can say where he would like to operate in terms of geography. Now on the flip side, clients will go in, they'll select one of 3 different tiers in terms of service level. And then they'll be able to actually interact with these freelancers and source talent to fill different positions or project needs that they have within their company. Now, in terms of the value proposition, you can see here on the freelancer side, they get access to quality, flexible projects outside of their geographic market. So again, it's really leveraging that work from home mentality and the idea of remote work. They can get hired quickly because they have more exposure to a variety of different industries and companies. They get paid on time and securely through the platform. They can then build a reputation and find more projects through Upwork's network itself and through the recognition system that they employ. And they get insight on skills in demand, and they can see what projects, skill sets, or talents are in demand right now, which then allows them to maybe go hone or learn some new skills to better adapt to the labor market. On the client side of the equation, they get global access to virtual talent. So that bench strength or the ability to go source talent goes up exponentially compared to kind of a brick and mortar or office work type of scenario. They get fast access to talent, cost-effective projects, trust and verification of freelancers, and they can actually go in and see freelance reviews prior to hiring these people, an end-to-end suite of workflow tools, which we'll talk about in a little bit more detail here. Now, I wanted to include this slide because when I think of freelancers, I generally think of web developers, coders, stuff like that. But there's so much more to this opportunity than just those specific fields. And you can see here, they actually have over 70 work categories with over 8,000 skills. So everything from sales, translation, accounting, editing, IT services, obviously web development is in there. But there's so much more to this, and it goes so much deeper than I originally thought. It really opens the door to anybody looking to gain employment with any type of skill set out there. You can see here they actually have over 20 categories that generated over $20 million in gross sales volume. So they're really diversified across multiple different categories. And 40% of the clients actually hired people in multiple categories. So it's not like they're coming to Upwork for just one specific skill set or one specific project. They're actually looking to hire an assortment of people or skill sets from this company, which is great to see. So we talked briefly about kind of the end-to-end solution that Upwork offers, but we really wanted to break this down. So there's 4 key pieces here that Upwork really focuses on. Number 1 is the actual hiring. So this is what kicks everything off. They harness their unique talent search engine. They have a job board, contracting tools, stuff like that. And as we said, a lot of this is proprietary and really harnesses a lot of the internal data that they've gathered as one of the leading operators in this space. Secondly is actually the work being completed. So they offer collaboration tools, messaging apps, obviously voice and video calling to really enhance that work experience and make the teams successful and bond together, even though maybe they operate in a remote fashion. So after the work's completed, obviously then they need to pay for the work. So Upwork actually employs time tracking options, invoicing, billing, and they can actually send payments to over 180 countries worldwide. So again, you really open the doors to a global talent pool rather than just searching for people in your specific geographic location city, town, region, whatever. This really opens the doors far and wide to anyone in the world, essentially, that has the skill set you're looking for. The final step here is actually measuring success. So they give two-way reviews. So the freelancer can actually review the company and the company can review the freelancer, which is great. It builds trust and transparency in the platform. You can give private or public feedback, and they actually provide data and analytics services as well. So you can see productivity, completion, satisfaction, which is great, especially in this remote work or work from home model. It's really important to have that visibility on your staff or on freelancers to ensure they're doing exactly what you're paying them to do. So now that we kind of understand what Upwork does, the team that's responsible for this company, and how the business model works, I wanted to actually show you guys how they generate revenue. So there's two specific ways. Now this is actually on the talent side or the freelance side. So what you would do is you'd go in here, you set up a free account, you create your profile, which we kind of talked about, highlighting your skills, experience, whatever you think would be the most marketable to these companies. And then you select payment options and set up all your banking information. After that's completed, you actually pay Upwork through a system of fees based on a sliding scale for your lifetime billable hours or billable contracts. So how this works is for the first $500 you bill your clients, Upwork actually takes 20% of that. So they would take $100 out of that initial $500. After that, it's 10% from anything between $500 to $10,000. And after you've completed $10,000 of work, and it doesn't necessarily have to be with one company or one project, it's a sliding scale, so lifetime work value, then they only take 5% of that over and above that initial $10,000. Now the nice thing about this model is you're only paying when you're actually making money or being employed. So it's really nice from a freelance concept that you don't have any subscription fee or upfront cost. The other thing that's interesting is as you gain employment and you bill more and more services, the percent you pay actually goes down. So it actually becomes more economical for you to stay with Upwork as you complete more projects and more hours with this company, which actually creates a moat or a barrier to talent switching to other platforms like maybe say Fiverr or something like that. Now from the company perspective or the people that are actually doing the hiring, the way they generate revenue on this side is actually through 3 different product offerings. So the company can actually opt in for either a basic, plus, or enterprise solution. So at the basic level, this is actually free. You still get the verified work history, you get unlimited proposals, and you do get some of the collaboration tools and payment. So here you could go in and you can kind of search for talent yourself. If maybe you want Upwork to take a little bit more responsibility there and actually help you guys find talent and dedicated search managers, stuff like that, you can go into the plus section, which is a $50 a month subscription. And they'll actually tailor the search results. They'll give you project tracking tools, and they'll give you a dedicated account manager to help you source that talent faster and maybe more effectively. Now you can see if you're going to be using Upwork consistently, this probably makes sense because obviously time is money. And if you can cut down the amount of time you need to spend searching for talent, that's ultimately a good investment overall. They also have an enterprise solution, and this pricing is custom tailored to the enterprise needs. But here you get the access to the full suite. So premium talent network, global worker classification, and dedicated support teams to really measure that return on investment and ensure success. So this slide really shows it all put together. So you can see here 89% of their revenues come from one of those 3 business models, either the basic, plus, or enterprise. They are also branching out into this managed service area, which represents currently about 11%. So this is an upcoming opportunity for them. So we'll use the plus as an example. So you can see here, the freelancers would go in and they'd pay their service fees on that kind of sliding scale. And then the clients themselves would pay their monthly subscription fee. So they're actually earning revenue from both sides of the equation, which I think is great. And obviously they're providing value to both parties, so why not monetize that? Now I don't want to spend a ton of time on this slide, but I did want to highlight their actual margin percentages. So you can see here, whether it's the basic or the enterprise solution, they're actually earning about 75% in terms of margin, which is phenomenal. So you can see their revenue comes in this example at $12 for every 100. And after cost of goods sold, they're actually generating $9 of revenue there. So it's very high margin business. And realistically, this is exactly what you want as an investor, is a company that can generate high revenue that ultimately flows through as a high percentage margin product. So now that we understand how the company makes money, I wanted to kind of look at their overall progress or financials as of their most recent statement here. So this is Q3 of 2020. Now you can see here in terms of gross services volume, so all the money that's changed hands between freelancers and employers, you can see here it's just north of $650 million, which is phenomenal. Overall revenue for the period was just under 100 million. Adjusted EBITDA just under 7. And these two numbers I thought were really impressive. So client spend retention was actually 100%, which is phenomenal. So you can see the clients are really happy to use this service and it's creating really sticky customers. The other thing that I thought was interesting is they have just about 140,000 clients. So when you talk about diversity in terms of income streams, it's not like they're dependent on one or two massive enterprise clients. They're actually using a wide variety of businesses that are contributing to their actual revenue and growth as a company. Now, if we slide down and we look at the year-over-year trend, you can see here gross service volume is up 23% year over year. Revenue is up 24% year over year. And adjusted EBITDA is up over 230% year over year. Now, this is a trend that I see continuing as work from home and the pandemic continue to persist. So I expect these numbers to go up substantially as we move into Q4 year end and then fiscal 2021. But this is phenomenal to see that all of these metrics are moving up and to the right. So now the question becomes, what is the total size of this market and what is the market cap or target price of Upwork that I think is realistic in the future here? So if you look at the global labor market, you can see here there's over 160 million jobs that can be performed remotely. So there's a vast number of services or talents or skill sets that can be done from home and don't necessarily require somebody to go into an office or specific building to complete. 50% of the Gen Z population are freelancers. This was another stat that really surprised me when I was doing my research here, and you can see here that almost half of these new entrants into the workforce really prefer this kind of freelance or work remote concept. And I think this is a trend that again is really going to persist into the future. Now on the demand side of the equation, so again, it all comes down to supply and demand. You can see here that 62% of companies will be more remote or have more remote work than they did before the pandemic hit. And 47% of companies are more likely to engage independent talent as a result of the pandemic here. So obviously this pandemic has been horrible for a lot of people and a lot of reasons, but in terms of Upwork's business model and their ability to really scale, it's actually been a huge catalyst for them. So if we then take that 161 million jobs and we multiply it by the average freelance sales volume of $3,500, you can see here that Upwork estimates the global remote work opportunity to be $560 billion. So if you then assume that, hey, maybe they're going to take 10% of that in terms of fees, you get $56 billion. And if they then make 75% margin on that, you can see the numbers add up very, very quickly. And that gets the global size of this market using Upwork's business model to about $42 billion per year after cost of goods sold. Now, obviously, Upwork doesn't own the entire global market. There are competitors. Obviously, this isn't realistic to think they can go in and have 100% market share. But I think the numbers here are interesting to see just the total addressable market or TAM of this type of operation. Now, if you consider Upwork's market cap of under $7 billion, you can see that there's still a lot of room for them to grow and a lot of trajectory. I think this could easily be a 10, 15, $20 billion company within the next couple of years. And I'm expecting Q4 results to just be absolutely blockbuster and really propel Upwork forward in terms of market cap and share price. So as promised, to end out the video, I did want to share with you guys my current holdings. So you can see here, Upwork, February 23rd earnings like we just talked about, open quantity of 57. So I currently hold 57 shares. I actually did sell an additional 50 shares in the high 30s. Now looking back, obviously I wish I had held on to these, but this was following one of my trade rules and I didn't want my position to get over 20% of my portfolio. So you can see here, even with these reduced 57 shares, it's still representing about 16%. And if I had held that full position of 107 shares, I would have been well above that 20% of portfolio. So I did have to take some profit and actually downsize this position, which again, looking back, hurts, but There's an old saying, you can never go broke taking a profit. And at the end of the day, I'm happy to do that and rebalance my portfolio because I know in the long run, that's the smart thing to do. Now, in terms of average share price, I got these shares for just under $15, so $14.32. They're currently sitting at $52.77. As of yesterday, this was close to $60. I think it might have even broke 60, so we're doing really well in the position. You can see here we're up about 270% or close to 300% prior to today's pullback. My closed profit on this was about $1,000 US, and the profit I have with the 57 shares that are currently open is an additional $2,200 US. So very happy with this overall, but as mentioned, I do see some good upside after earnings, and I'm not going to be selling this position until we probably hit close to $75 to $100 a share. I think that's probably reasonable considering the market and considering the leadership position this company has really taken. So that's it for today's video, you guys. I hope you found some good information here in terms of Upwork's business model, overall strategy, and price target. As mentioned, earnings are coming out on the 23rd of February, so if you are interested in this company, you're definitely going to want to consider either holding this into earnings or potentially buying right after. If you haven't already, please take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, have a great rest of your day.